Thank you, snowboarding.
Thank you, snowboarding.
Hey friends, how you doing out there? My name is Chris Cracknell. I am your host for the Thank You Snowboarding podcast, the podcast that is diving into all aspects of UK snowboard culture, from the first guys hand building boards up in Scotland to the current crop of UK shredders who are showing the world what is up. And we do this with the kind support of our friends at the Snowboard Asylum. Snowboard Asylum's been looking after snowboarders for the last 35 years. So they know what you need. So if you do need anything, go hit those guys up. So my guest this week is Johno Verity. Johno was a pro snowboarder for many years. Had quite a high profile, you could say. He got a lot of coverage in magazines like White Lines. And certainly lived the life for pro snowboarder. Had sections in the lockdown projects, movies. And he moved into filming. He filmed some of those lockdown project movies, and he now runs a film production company in London. And I got to hang out with him at the week I was out in Dragon Lodge and at Chris Moran's house. Johno picked us up from the airport. And so I got to spend a good bit of time with him and get to know him a bit better. I don't really know Johno that well. And well, there's plenty of stuff about that as we get into the episode. But yeah, it was a really, really fun week. Johno is great company. He's kind of thoughtful, but funny as fuck as well. And I really, really had a great time hanging out with him and snowboarding with him as well. Definitely kind of someone who's got that slight competitive edge that makes you want to sort of up your game a little bit. So yeah, we sat down at Chris Moran's house and chatted for about an hour. There's probably loads of stuff we missed or that we didn't get into, but that's the way it goes sometimes. We had food waiting for us upstairs, so we had to get to it. So let's get to it. Johno Verity. The fact that we are in Chris Moran's house and I was going through his collection of White Lines magazines, and I think the first time you pop up in it is labelled Backflip Johno from Meribel, attempting a double backflip and eating shit.
It's a sequence, but it's and I land as though I'm landing it, but I think I rode about 2 foot after the last photo, and then I catch a hill edge, and then I just whiplash.
So when was that in your sort of snowboarding life?
I reckon that would have been my 3rd season. So that would have been 1998. Yeah. And that was pre having any sponsors or anything. I mean, if you look carefully in those photos, I've got they look like kids' boxing gloves that I'm wearing. They're like these little red, and I'm pretty sure I would have been wearing, I used to wear like chinos. Just because. So I didn't have any proper snowboarding gear, and I had a pair of salopettes that were like old shitty salopettes. Yeah. And then like I would wear a pair of like baggy chinos over the top. Does it pick up that? Or?
It might pick up that. For the people listening, we're in Chris Moran's house and there are other people here. And hello! We're just recording a podcast. Turn it in!
He's landed.
Is it here? Is it?
It's Gary.
Oh, good old Gary. So chinos.
Yeah, right. The reason why I was wearing chinos, right, I didn't want to be wearing these salopettes because they were like 1980s salopettes. They look really shit, and so I had like this pair of chinos, and I was like, well, they kind of look like snowboard trousers. They were kind of baggy trousers. Yeah. And then I wore them, and then they kind of, when the snow was cold, they kind of repelled the snow as well.
Right.
And then I had like an odd set of boots.
Yeah.
That a friend had given me from when I'd learned to snowboard, and they were sewn up with like a huge sewing needle, that because the heel was like, it just flapped open, so I sewed them up with string with like a needle that you used to sew up chickens. I don't know why they exist. And then I would wear plastic bags in between the liner and the boot.
Nice.
So yeah, I was quite a bag lady. So yeah, I didn't have any kit.
So that was your third season. Had you not figured out by then that kind of kit's quite important? Or was it not important?
No, that's it. Like, I just kind of didn't. I loved snowboarding, but I've never been a kit geek.
Right.
I've never really been like. I never really cared that much.
Okay, so then let's travel backwards. Then, if that was your third season, had you done all of them in Maribel up to that point?
Yeah. So right.
What brought you to Maribel then?
When I was 18 years old, my dad had been living in America and working there, and he had got a green card. So because I was under 20, 21, I was under the age where I was able to get a green card. So I went there, got a green card, so I was able to work in America and kind of lived there. And then I was BMXing since I was 15, and I was like really into BMXing. And
what stage was BMXing at that point? Because I got into it in the first wave, or I sort of got into it. I had a rally boxer, the ET wave, and there was a BMX track near us. So
no, I had a BMX for that wave. So when that would have been when I was about 10.
Yeah, you must have been really young.
And then when I was 15, pretty much in the deadest years of BMXing. I mean, like there was nothing.
Yeah, it died of death completely, didn't it?
In 1991, I got into BMX. I just found this magazine in a newsagent. I don't know. Someone must have ordered it. I don't know why it was there, but it was like Ride BMX. And I was like, what? People are doing skateboard tricks on BMXs. And I love that. And I want to do it. And I was just like, started BMXing. And
Did you see... what was the program? High Five.
Yeah,
on a Saturday morning, and the one with like Matt Hoffman in it,
and riding his massive 21-foot quarter pipe. Yeah. Actually, no, I didn't see that, but I think I've since seen it. But that was back when TV. Listen to me like an old man. That was when like I even wrote. What was that? Channel 4. I wrote to Channel 4 because I'd missed it, and I saw that it was in the Radio Times. It's like Matt Hoffman, King of Oak Club. I was like, I missed that show, and I was like, I desperately wanted to see it, and that, I guess that's kind of a sign of the times, because you've just got access to anything you want. But back then, like, the fact it had been on the TV and it was BMX, like, it was impossible to get any.
Yeah, I think Ed Lee said the same sort of thing. Like anything that popped up with skating, BMXing, or snowboarding in it was like, holy shit, get a tape in there, record it so I can watch it over and over and over, because there was like nothing. There was no coverage of it at all. Yeah.
It's mad. So then fast forward from 15, when I picked up a BMX. By the time I was 18, I was really into BMX. And then when I moved over to New York, I was working there, and then I used to catch up. I just got to know a load of BMXers there.
Right.
Used to catch up, and we'd ride the street at night.
Yeah.
And that was great. Got to know a few people really well. And one of them was a guy called Matt Connolly, who was really into snowboarding. He was from Albany. And he was like, look, I'm going up to ride the first day of Killington.
Right.
Do you want to come up? And I went up to his place. He gave me this crappy old pair of boots. And what did I do about a board? I can't remember.
It's probably a Burton, wasn't it, if it was at Killington?
No. Do you know what? What was it? Anyway, I can't remember what board I was riding, because I didn't have a board then. I rode that day. So anyway, it was the first day of the season.
Yeah.
It was Baltically cold. All the snow cannons were just on, blasting snow everywhere. It was icy.
Yeah.
I rode. I went up the lift with my friend Matt, who could snowboard. he was like, okay, here's my tip. When you're going up the lift, don't lean the board on your shoelace because you'll cut the shoelace.
Yeah.
And then I think he said, just try and like lean on the front foot. And then got to the top of the lift and he legged it. And then I just had this like icy run with snow cannons and just kind of like rode for 2 hours and nailed myself, like just toe edge catch, heel edge catch.
Yeah.
But after 2 hours, I kind of got it.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. I mean, I'd been sprayed with icy snow in the face all day and I didn't have any proper snowboarding gear. And I loved it so much. I was like, this is... And then the next day I had like black knees from bruising. And...
So did you then manage to do it again over there? Or?
Yeah, I did one. So then there was this shop, like a snowboard shop in New York, and it had a thing where you would get a bus ride and a lift pass, and it was amazingly cheap.
Yeah.
And then on the way back in the bus, they kind of like had like raffles and handed out like stuff.
No way.
And I got an Airwalk t-shirt. And it was like the best day ever because by then, like, I'd only had 2 days in Killington, but like my knees had repaired by then. Like, it was enough time, and I kind of got it. Like, I was able just to ride with Matt.
Yeah.
And I just was like, this is the best thing ever. Bought myself a board. Bought a Morrow spoon tip that someone was selling.
Oh, nice.
Bought some bindings, and at that time, then a friend of mine from back home, he was doing his gap year. He was from quite a rich family, and his parents owned a chalet in Maribel, and they'd converted the garage into a little like windowless studio apartment. And he was doing his gap year there, and he's like, "Do you want to come and stay in the studio with me for the?"
No way.
I was like, "Yeah."
So what did it look like when you turned up in Maribel then? Sort of. Were there many snowboarders around for a start?
Not that many. Although, so what were we talking? 90? It was the 95, 96 season.
Right.
So, yeah, it was definitely in swing by then. I think if I'd gone like 4 years earlier, it would have been way fewer.
When I was in Val in 93, 94, I mean, there was a handful of us.
Yeah.
You know, and there was still quite a lot of dislike of snowboarders as well by skiers.
Right.
I didn't mind that though, because I was like, fuck you. Yeah, I'm a problem.
So I got the bus they did a bus, the Merry bus, from Victoria Coach Station, and you sat on this thing for 15, no, God, it's pretty long than that. It was like 18 hours.
Coaches just don't go fast, do they?
You sat on this thing and driving. I don't think I'll ever feel like this again. I don't think I can possibly feel like this. Driving up the switchbacks in that bus, almost like exploding and almost vomiting with excitement. I couldn't. I was just like, and then when I didn't know where. I'd had an address for this place.
Yeah.
Managed to find the street. Went there. Like, couldn't get in. Like, it was just a garage door. But anyway, I knocked on it. There's nothing. No answer. It's like, so I just saw this wood shed. Hid my luggage in the wood pile. Got my snowboard on, and my snowboarding bits, and then just went snowboarding. No lift pass, nothing. Like, just snuck onto lifts. And that season, like, I didn't have a lift pass. I just.
How did you manage to ride?
I colour photocopied my friend's one, and I just kind of kept. And then I put my own photo in, and I kind of, to begin with, it looked really pretty genuine. And I used to keep it down on my hip and in a kind of little pouch thing, so that no one could get that near to it.
Yeah.
I was like, there it is.
No one's going to bend over.
Yeah, like it wasn't on a string or anything. And managed to go for like a good 5 weeks with that fake one.
Sweet.
And then I got as near as possible to getting busted. Like, this guy, he basically was like, take that off, and and whilst he was checking other people's passes, I turned around, pulled this thing off, shoved it down my underpants, and then just played like, what? I don't know what you want. And he's like, where's your pass? Where is it? I was like, if I show him my pass, I'm so getting busted. But I was like, I don't know what you mean. I don't have a pass. Like, and he took me into this little back room, and I was like, oh God, I just didn't know what was going on. He held me there for quite a while, and then after a while, he was just like, Saba, go.
The thing is, in those days, like with the old like laminate lift passes, like by the halfway through the season, they're all fucked and falling apart anyway. Like they were sort of like a shit design anyway.
Yeah,
I've still got all of mine from Les Arc, I think. And yeah, they were just like a rubbish thing. And as soon as they split, then they get wet.
And then the photo kind of goes faded and everything anyway. So yeah, well that was it. And so then for the rest of the season, I just hiked. I just hiked up to the lifts where they didn't check passes. Every day I just do that. And I missed out of that whole season. I missed 5 days. I just couldn't believe how good snowboarding was. And it was a rubbish season as well. The 94-95 season was a really big one. Yeah. And everyone was like, oh, it's the best season. And then the next year, the first year I went there, they were like, oh God, the snow's so rubbish.
Was that the year that the British champs went to Maribel?
British champs in Maribel.
I got snow blindness.
Did
I
you?
had a pair of those old Arnett, the really cool frames.
Yeah. What with like a yellow lens or something?
They just fucking lens fogged up, side them on my head.
Oh shit!
Then sort of had to go home after a day and sit in my apartment with the blinds drawn in Les Arc for 2 days, letting my eyes calm down.
So
that was shit equipment. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I had shit equipment. That Morrow spoon thing, I actually bought it off Will and took it out for the season. It was far too small, and then I snapped it in half because it was made out of foam. And you just sort of scrabble around for whatever kit you can get, can't you? I mean, I ended up with I bought a board off Danny, Sim Selaznik. That fell apart as well. I rode part of the season with no edge for about that, like a 6-inch section of the edge just missing. But it's like, well, this is all I've got. So.
That's all you got. I since remember just seeing people chucking out a pair of boots or something that were kind of fine.
Yeah. And
just thinking I would have done so much to have those. to have it's this whatever jackets, people gloves. I remember standing in a shop and looking at this amazing, they're just a nice set of gloves, really. And I was like, but they were kind of €50 or something. It's there's no way I can afford that. So
did you not work?
So what
did you ever work your season?
So I got a job actually in a kitchen of the pub, but once I realised that was not very nice. One of the first things I did, I was trying to figure out where if there was anything I could do just to get some food. Yeah. And then I heard about people doing plongeur.
Plongeur.
Yeah. So I just went and I just went round to all the chalet girls. I was like, do you want me to do washing up for you? I'll do the washing up if you give me a meal. And then so I got free meals. So I did it with a couple of these chalet girls, and then they were leaving. I can't remember what happened, but anyway. So then I started asking around again, and then there were these 2 Kiwi girls, and I say girls, they're older than me, and to me they seemed ancient. I was 19, so they were probably not even 30, and they were like, look, you don't have to wash up for us, but we've got a chalet that's right out across the piste, and if you come and take our bins away to the bins, we'll leave you some food. And so they started calling me Marmot, because I would go and take the bins and they'd just leave me a little package of food. And the thing is, that's all I needed. It was just nourishment. It's that kept, and then I kind of didn't really need anything else. I didn't really drink because I was expensive. Why would I bother doing that? And so I loved socializing. So I'd literally take a beer bottle to the pub and fill it up with water so it kind of looked like I was drinking, and that was it.
So we used to so it's a similar story on my first season. Me and my mate ended up washing up for these two girls who weren't finishing clearing up after cooking and everything until like midnight every night,
right?
And Dad sort of said, this isn't cool, like we know we don't get paid enough for this. So they were like, oh, there's these two lads, they'll come and help you out. And it was exactly the same thing, except we'd just drink chalet wine that was so rough.
A paint stripper.
Fucking horrible. and what you had to do... Oh, shit, my dad's going to listen to this. You'd down half a tumbler and then go out onto the balcony and have a cigarette because it was so rough. And the cigarette would take away the taste. And you come back in, down the other half, finish your cigarette. And just do that over and over and over until you're like, right, I'm pissed up enough. I'm going out now until I literally sober up, and then I'll go home to bed because I couldn't afford to buy any drinks.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be like the best way to navigate that situation of having no money. But we were fed. We had a lift pass. Could go snowboarding every day.
And being certainly, so my first couple of seasons, I stayed in that kind of relatively nice little studio apartment.
Yeah.
But then for my third season, that was like chaos.
Go on.
So that was 7 fully grown men living in a 2-bedroom apartment, 9C.
Who was there?
So Ewan Wallace.
You met Ewan Wallace by this point?
Ewan Wallace I met on my first season.
Right.
Grant Wallace's brother, John Bates and Will Becker. I'm trying to think. Guy called Dino. And there was kind of a constant, people would come and be there for a bit. But, one time I came home, just smashed glass all over the floor. They just thought it was funny to throw bottles at the walls it was chaos. So having that, going to a relatively calm, a relatively nice place to go and have a meal.
Yeah.
It was my clarity for the day, because I didn't I slept in a corridor. It was a bed in a corridor. I had
classic French apartment.
Well, yeah, and that's that's for kind of 4.5 months or something. So you kind of, that little bit of peace, stopped me going insane.
Yeah.
But I paid £700
exactly. It's not
for the season. So
and so when did you start doing backflips then? You got the fucking nickname.
You
must have done them all the time.
That was on my second week of snowboarding that I tried my first one.
Right.
And even okay, so I'll just rewind a bit. When I was 15 and I was into BMXing, got into BMXing, bought a video called Head First, which was Matt Hoffman's video.
Right.
And in that video, he climbs up a little wall and he backflips off it. So the guy's
standing backflip.
Yeah, standing backflip. The guy's my hero. It's I have to learn how to do that. So I learned how to do that. And then from then on, I just, down the street, wherever, I just backflipped. That's what I did all the time. And so when I literally first ever strapped into a snowboard, I think it was on my friend's one in his bedroom, I was like, I could backflip one of these. So yeah, I think after 2 weeks, I landed the first one on my head, second one kind of almost got it round, third one I landed it. And that was it. And then I became Backflip Johno, because all, everyone had you didn't use your surnames.
No.
You just had and then I just did backflips off everything. I mean, and this was when backflips were the least cool thing. They were it's oh my God, backflips are so lame. And then they kind of had a resurgence, somehow.
Yeah, when snowboarding became fun again, backflips were then sort of back on, weren't they?
But for quite a while, I was I was so clueless. I was such a seasoned snowboarder.
Yeah.
And I had bleached blonde hair and just, I did. I thought I was cool as fuck. And, but I've got so on that Maribel Brits.
Yeah.
Like this is Reece Crabtree and Sasha Ham.
Yeah.
Could tell you this. They sat during the halfpipe comp and watched this twat with bleach blonde hair and no top on build a kicker like out to the side of where the event was going on and do backflips. And that twat was me.
You were that
no
guy.
top on.
Amazing.
Thinking he was cooler than everyone else. Yeah.
I mean, like, sort of make fun of it, but, you certainly seem to have a drive to achieve. Would that be a fair thing to say? Like, you went after snow, like, once you sort of started getting pictures in magazines, you seemed to then really want to go for it and sort of take it as far as you could.
I just loved. I've always had a drive. Like whatever it is I do, I've had like this. I want to do it loads, and with snowboarding, I just loved it. And then when I was like, oh, hang on, I can actually like make some money out of snowboarding with sponsors. I would say I have a very strong work ethic with regards to like, okay, I need to get coverage, I need to do stuff. And that combined with massively overactive show-off gland and like this desire to show off. It was kind of like a perfect combination, really. Like for that era, that kind of,
because there was a point where, I don't know, I think it was when Chris and Matt and sort of White Lines had a place in Maribel, and then you started sort of getting in White Lines a lot. And I sort of put this idea together in my head that you were like, Chris and Matt had come up with this idea that they were going to make someone a superstar snowboarder, and they picked you, and like a boy band sort of thing, like we're gonna mold we're gonna mold someone, and I totally know that Moran's got it in him to do that, but you just seem to get a lot of coverage, and you were obviously shooting with sort of Scamilton.
Shooting with Scamilton.
There was that sequence of you doing that massive frontside 3, and I think everyone looked at that because you can tell how big something is by the amount of shots being used on it.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, people I knew were like, holy fuck, that's actually massive. And it looked good. When sequences could tell someone's style rather than a single shot.
Yeah, right.
And sequences were everywhere.
I definitely, there was a point that I went through where I definitely realised that I was, beyond, being backflip Johno in Maribel, cool amongst the seasonnaires, who had no idea of style or anything, and then I kind of broke into oh, okay, I'm part of kind of British snowboarding now, and then I realised that was a realisation that I was not cool and really it's a funny time, really.
But did you get any kind of mentorship's probably the wrong word, but advice from Chris and Matt and people like that who were sort of in the industry and could actually sort of point you in the right direction rather than you trying to figure it out on your own like a lot of people would who didn't have those connections? Kind of,
but then Chris was never a style Nazi. What I could have done, I really could have done with early on is hanging out with someone who actually was all about style,
right?
Because I'm not a style. I've never been a stylish rider, and I think that that really early time would have been the time to kind of focus on it. Yeah. Before I just kind of ended up being free ride squirrel, flappy arms. Man, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like Scott McMorris just casually, naturally, incredibly stylish. And
Yeah, you say that though, right? So I got hold of copies of The Invasion and the sequel, and it's got early Scott McMorris in it, and he looks as sort of geeky as a dry slope, like someone on dry slope that's just learned how to do a shifty. But then there's a definite point where, I don't know, I'll talk to him about it one day, but like he must have gone away and actually thought, right, I've got to kind of get a bit of an angle on this, or
right.
went away and listened to a load of hip hop over the summer and came back and.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
like, do you know what I mean? Like, it can be a learnt thing. Like,
I think that certainly the early years, like, of that's when maybe getting technique or whatever it is that kind of helps you get like a nicer style earlier on would have been beneficial to me. Yeah. I wish I hadn't spent those first 2 years just thinking I can backflip and that's all I need.
Yeah, but in kind of season air life.
Well, yeah, like it
you get a little rep around town and everyone knows you, and that's fine, isn't it?
Yeah, but yeah.
So how did you meet Moran and that when they were over? Did you know them before they moved there?
They came over, on my third season. Mm-hmm. And then they were doing a season. I was up in 1600 in Maribel, and they were down in Maribel Village. I think they had a place there. And when I met Chris, I was just like, this guy's on the cover of magazines. He's a pro snowboarder. He rides for Burton, and he's really just super friendly and really nice. And I was like, this guy's so cool. I just want to hang out with him all the time, I really, he's like in everything he did, he was just really cool.
Yeah.
And the story, he's just funny and super nice. And I was like, oh man, that's like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty good influence, really.
Yeah, and lucky to be around those guys as well, because obviously when they're looking for content or photos, and
you're
there and talking to them, and you get something good, they know it straight away. And
well, it was really early on, and I said to him, I was like, "How do I get a sponsor? How do I do this?" And he just broke it down. He was like, "Companies want exposure. If you can get in magazines, if you can do that, then you have a value to that company. And if you've got their stickers on your snowboard, you have a value."
Yeah.
And that really, like, he was just so kind of clear with it. And then from then on, I was like, okay. So that's like on that first ever photo shoot I did with Scamilton.
Yeah.
I was like, well, this is now's the time to do double backflips. It's like, I think that was my first hit, or like, certainly like it was like, well, there's no point in doing a backflip. I know I can do that. I'm like here and a few other people.
Yeah.
It's time to impress them.
Yeah.
Here we go.
No, it's fair enough. Like we were saying the other day, that kind of wanting to be good or wanting to achieve wasn't necessarily a snowboarder's default. That wasn't the snowboarder's cool default position, was it? No.
It was as in like in sponsorship and things like that.
Well, just in anything, just like, I want to do well in this.
Right. Yeah.
Like, everyone's like, oh yeah,
take it or leave it,
or whatever, and like it's all gravy, but...
And then that's maybe where I was a little bit of a kind of the loser, the kind of
let's call it outlier.
The outlier, yeah, because I just saw an opportunity. It's like, well, if I could get paid to do this, then like, how cool's that?
You get to do it more.
I get to do like the thing I love so much, and I get to get paid for it.
Yeah,
and I can't deny I loved getting photos in magazines. I loved it. It was brilliant.
I think I might have, not necessarily jealous of you, but I always wanted a photo in a magazine, and I got the occasional photo of me being pissed up somewhere, but never riding.
Really? You never got...
And I think I was always been like, fuck, everyone else seems to get this and I don't get this, but it's because I simply wasn't good enough. I mean, that's the long and short of it.
That's really fun. Like, I don't think of you like that. Like I really? Just kind of, like I never was like, oh, you know, I
definitely, there was a period where I was like, fucking, how do I do this? But I just, you know, like, didn't want to hit massive jumps because I didn't want to fuck myself up. Or, you know, I was handy enough that I could go riding with everyone, but I wasn't, you know, I just didn't have tricks and stuff. But I could do a few things all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was never never went to the next step. But that wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I didn't really want to take those risks.
But so I was reading a book by Stephen Fry. I can't remember the title, but this is the thing that really struck with me. He was talking about how he felt he had never really achieved. He felt that he was always looking up to the greats. Yeah. That he would never be William Shakespeare. He'd never be Oscar Wilde. He wrote a few little books. And here's a guy who's incredibly successful.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I did get any kind of recognition and sponsorship, all I ever did was look up at the people I wasn't as good at and always just saw myself in the way that I guess you felt about yourself.
Yeah, I always felt I was a bit of an outsider. Like we were talking earlier about going to Morzine, and there was a whole bunch of the scene there. And I was like, then I was running the chalet, so I was like, well, I'm not really part of that. Tried to be part of it, didn't really fit in. Then thought, okay, I'm not really part of that anymore then. And yeah, I mean, it sort of definitely it changed because then I was doing my thing. And then it's like, well, this is what I'm doing, so I'm just getting on with that. I don't need to really think about this stuff anymore. But then I've had other people say to me, it's funny that you didn't feel part of it because I felt the same way as that. And people who I'd have looked at and thought, yeah, but you were fucking definitely part of it. Do you know what I mean? It's really weird.
I think I would honestly say the same, because I kind of recognised that I was never core. I was never cool, like as in like the core way of like, you know, I wasn't one of the cool. No, I was definitely not one of the cool kids. I rode for Animal.
Yeah, but
you know, like,
on the other side of that, they gave you a fucking van with your name on the side of it. Like, to be fair, to get given a van's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and to get paid, you know, when you boil it down, to get paid to go snowboarding is a fucking result in anyone's book. You know, like that is cool.
But no, I mean, yeah, like that's me looking up at the cool kids, and not. I think I just kind of I did my best to let it not bother me,
right?
But it was always there that I wasn't cool, you know. Like,
did that change? Like, certainly when sort of Tim and Gend were making their movies and you were helping them make them and shooting and being in them, and then, you know, there's like that skit with Ben Kilner where you like, come on, say do a backflip. Like, surely that must have changed. Well, and, like, to the point where it's like, yeah, no, like,
no,
Johno, you know, Jono's doing his thing, it's fine.
Meeting Tim and Gend was I think quite a kind of change in my attitude to that, and like that, you know, the way that they saw, like, okay, we're going to make British snowboarding films and we're nowhere near the level of like the best in the world, so the only way we can make it entertaining is if we make it fun and funny, and like, and I guess that's kind of how I saw myself, really. Like, yeah.
I mean, those skits were funny. The one where you're like having a breakdown You break the computer and the video camera and stuff.
And that, I think, that's because I had to take a good bit of the season off because I was injured. I can't actually remember what I'd done, but I didn't get a huge amount of footage that season. That's why we did that.
Right.
That skit.
Yeah, but that's a good way out of a
there's a
tight scenario, isn't it?
Free.
Like, yeah, but that's like genuinely funny. I think it's the funny stuff in those movies that basically the sort of public, the snowboarding public that watched them really grabbed hold of. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a million snowboard movies that you can watch and watch people doing great stuff. But there's the fact that there's actual some proper humour in them that really cement it in people's hearts, do you think? I
think the thing that I would, if I could go back and talk to 23-year-old me now, it would be that the greater number of people don't give a damn about the nuance of style of all of that. These things that had like weighed on me.
Yeah.
But like the stuff that they will remember is, like more like the having fun or the skits and the,
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good lesson because it doesn't matter. We're just kind of people doing little pirouettes on snow, aren't we, ultimately? And
like when we were getting our lift passes in teen and you were like, this is just such a this is a proper privilege to get to do this. This isn't we don't need to be here doing this.
Yeah.
Like the world doesn't need us doing it. So to get to actually go snowboarding is quite a nice thing. And as you say, if you can carve a living out and you've carved a career from snowboarding as well, like
out beyond.
Yeah.
You've
taken what you've learned in snowboarding and then moved outside, haven't you?
I feel really satisfied with how much I've been able to experience in life. Like it's been such a privilege, really. Like to, like if it all ended soon, I'd be like, what more could I have done? Like I've just been able to do so many cool things, and I'm so lucky. Like,
well, let's not go
too deep
yet. Well, just not yet.
Yeah.
Got other things to talk about. So you rode for Airwalk, which is interesting because Johnny Weeks' name's come up quite a few times. How did that come about?
Who put me onto Johnny Weeks? Do you know? I don't know. I'm trying to think of how Johnny Weeks found me. Unless it's Christian
he found quite a lot of people.
Right.
He wasn't shy of sponsoring people.
Right.
But you were kitted out. Were you kitted out head to toe?
Yeah. I had all the clothing and the boards and the boots.
Yeah.
And then I became the death of the snowboard, the snowboard company.
To be fair, I was around for the death of Airwalk as well. I might have hastened its arrival.
So Airwalk died. I mean, I think I only rode for Airwalk for like a year and a half or something.
Yeah.
Got a few free boards.
Yeah, no, Johnny did it, and then I sort of took it over, and it fucking died almost immediately.
So then, who was it? Was it Scott Wayman who had some Morrow? Who was doing?
Yeah, it was Scott and Fred did West Beach and Morrow and Planet Earth.
Right.
For a period.
So then I had like Morrow boards for a bit, and then they changed their kind of. They decided just to sell like budget boards, I think.
Is that when they get bought by? They got bought by K2 or something, and then they just got totally like, this is budget. Like this is our budget department.
And it must have been. So then, Steno, he put me onto Lolo Bess, I think it was, who hooked me up on Hammer. I rode for Hammer snowboards. They got bought by Quicksilver. They got just dissolved.
Yeah.
And then I rode for Atomic. And then Atomic stopped doing, like, kind of after, this is like, after 12 years, they were like, yeah, we're not doing
No, I don't
snowboards
think
anymore.
they ever really got a foothold,
No.
did they? But Animal, though, they
Animal
treated
was
you well, right?
Yeah, like so. Yeah, I was so like for so many reasons. I was really lucky. So this was there was a point where I could have been cool, and that was when Scott Wayman sorted me out with Planet Earth.
Yeah,
And Planet Earth was
cool.
like
They had like John
Don't-
Jackson. Proper
yeah, like that was like cool people.
hands like that. You
Yeah.
know, I'm doing like a hip hop hands thing.
That was like really cool. And then I rode with them, and I was like getting all this really nice stuff. I was like, oh man, this is so. I'm like literally pretty cool, but I wasn't getting paid anything. I was just getting floats and stuff.
Just some kit.
And then Animal came along, and they had some money, and I went to Scott. I was like, Animal have offered me. They only offered me $4,000. But it was $4,000.
Yeah,
you know.
$4,000 back then pretty much cover your season,
So-
wouldn't it?
So Scott was like, well, I can't compete with that, you know.
No.
So, and then I just had a kind of series of really lucky things happen as soon as I got onto Animal. And one of them was this trip to Greenland with Right Guard Extreme Sport.
Right.
It was unbelievable. That was with Chris Moran, James Stenford, Dan Milner was taking photos, and a couple of journalists, and we had a helicopter to ourselves and a pilot, and we went and we lived with this Inuit family 2 hours north of any place where they'd flown helicopters before.
Right.
So we had a new takeoff zone, it was a new radius, and we just rode these mountains. There's like basically. They were saying, yeah, no, people haven't been up these mountains before.
No way.
It was, unbelievable. And we were getting paid.
Yeah.
But off the back of that, loads of coverage.
Yeah.
I just started getting a lot of coverage in in FHM and so as soon as I was on Animal, they were like, I kind of became their golden child. I was getting a lot of pages. So then I was able to kind of negotiate better wages and stuff like that. Yeah, it was good. They were really good to me.
But it's funny that as well, isn't it? Because again, that goes sort of against the snowboarder thing of you only appear in cool media that rather than mainstream stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
I mean, why the fuck wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point in being cool and having no money to do anything, or you know, earning some money and actually getting to go on better trips and do other things?
Well,
do you know what I mean? Or maybe that's an age thing. Looking back, it just seems crazy
that you wouldn't even like.
Why wouldn't you do it?
I mean,
and maybe people are a bit salty about it because they weren't being offered that and earning that money. Do you know what I mean? I'm guessing that's probably most of it.
I mean, you saw the VO5.
You've seen it.
You saw the VO5 advert. So, like,
is it online anywhere?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you type in Johno Verity VO5, and it's so tragic. But I was 22 or 23 when I did that. I got paid £7,000 for 3 hours work, and I was like. At the time, I was like, "Well, I'll just buy a house." Like, what? It's like ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
But that really pissed off a lot of people and people who I really respected, and so it wasn't easy. Like, people were pissed off with me. They're like, "You've ruined, British snowboarding. You've ruined it's like." But
it's such a small, like, the general public don't give a shit, do they? Like, they see it and then forget it instantly and move on. Do you know what I mean? It's only upsetting to people who are so precious about this thing. But it's like, actually, it doesn't matter. But I guess that's the passing of time sort of deals with that, doesn't it? Like, no one fucking remembers that. Like, I'm not.
Well, no, but
in a bad way, but everyone will laugh about it.
Yeah, it's a badge of pride.
I paid £7,000 for like 3 hours work. Everyone will be like, "Yeah, fair enough."
Yeah,
like, how else are you gonna get that money?
So
and other snowboarders have become models and done all that sort of shit, and no one cares anymore, do they?
well, that's it. Like I said, like they just didn't have like energy drink. I mean, I feel like there was a real thing as like selling out was like the worst thing you could do, and like that was, and I dipped to a new low because I wasn't even like trying to be cool. Like, it's a picture of me doing the how the hell am I going to land this look, like.
Fucking amazing.
And yeah, but and now I look at like we take it all too seriously, don't we? But
I think so. Yeah. I think people hold these things really close to themselves, and I definitely guilty of that. But like another thing that we've been talking about before is that I guess not everyone knew. You sort of thought it was quite a tight little scene, but actually a lot of people didn't know the other people very well, apart from to say hi to or have a beer with at a comp, but they don't actually know the person. Do you know what I mean?
No.
So judgments are made that aren't that are probably entirely unfair, and I'm guilty of that. I've not liked certain people or thought they were dicks or whatever, and only because I didn't know them. Yeah. I was busy turning up with my own bag load of old shit that I was projecting onto people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't good enough to make it or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a funny thing really. But then once you get to know people, like none of these things really matter anymore because there's good laughs to be had with people that you haven't really hung out with much before.
I mean, we haven't really hung out that much before.
No.
Have we? Like, and I've had a really enjoyable
I've
few
laughed
days.
So much this week. And it's been great.
I probably did feel like you always thought I was a bit of a loser.
Not a loser. What I didn't get, if I'm being honest, I never got the whole Charlie Sports thing.
Yeah.
And I sort of felt as if you'd quite, it's just a show off. Which, to be fair,
I am.
Yeah, I know. But I just couldn't get my head around that. I've learned a lot about myself recently and then I can look back and look at that and go, yeah, I just couldn't. I've got this dysmorphia thing. So I went to a party once, a chav party, and I couldn't talk to anyone because they all look like chavs. Do you know what I mean? Like my brain can't. So when I think we had a conversation once somewhere and you were probably uncomfortable talking to me and you sort of went into the Charlie Sports thing, which actually is quite funny. Like when you see it on the videos, it's pretty funny. But I was just like, my brain can't really compute with this.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just thought, I don't think I can talk to Johno much because I can't really handle that.
Yeah.
So then just avoided ever really talking to you.
Right.
But then when Chris brought you around our house one day and we sat in our kitchen, had a cup of tea, and it's all perfectly normal.
And we're kind of adults. And
this is fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wondered whether I'd explain that to you or not.
No, that's like that makes total sense. Charlie Sports, Super Mullet.
Yeah.
These alter egos that I'd have, they were for no other reason than I found them funny and I quite enjoyed it.
I mean, they are quite funny. That one where you're hitting the golf ball. You say you're fucking like golf ball. You're going over there a fucking long way. Like that is. I've laughed at that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you do. I mean, you do take the piss out of yourself quite a lot, don't you? Like you sort of say, yeah, I've got a big ego. Like we were filming the other day. And you're like, yeah, did you notice how I kept you in the frame the whole time? That's because I'm the best filmer in the world.
Yeah.
And it's just funny now. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing about it that isn't funny. Like, you seem to be able to take the piss out of yourself quite well.
So, like, Instagram is built around showing off, but, like, hiding it behind humility, fake humility.
Yeah.
And And I feel like that's also snowboarding, or that's just also so many things. And I'm 48 years old, and I'm just like, no, I'm not going to hide this anymore. For some reason, something in my physiological makeup means that I like showing off.
Yeah.
I can't, and it's like, well, either I'm like, okay, hands in the air, like, yeah, I like showing off. That's it. I just accept it.
Yeah.
Or I try and hide it behind some fake reason that I'm, blessed. Hashtag blessed, or, which is kind of, I don't know. I can't help it.
No. And I mean, I've enjoyed it this week because I know that I can.
Yeah, but
I can lean into that. Do you know what I mean? And actually sort of have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah.
And that's what's made this week sort of such a laugh, really.
Yeah, no, it's good. Well, that and snowboarding. I mean, I really, really still absolutely love it. I just love it so much. Snowboarding.
Well, let's get into this then. So, what does snowboarding mean to you, apart from just loving it and it being fun, obviously, because everybody knows those things are true? Like, what does it mean to your life?
It's brought me so much. It's brought me massive percentage of my best friends. It's taken me all over the world. It's snowboarding itself. It allows you to be a superhuman. That's what I love about it. You can do things that are superhuman. You can jump off a building. You can fly. Like you can go incredibly fast, like just under your own steam, and it's just I don't know. It's brought me so much, and now what I'm doing, like as a filmer.
So tell me a bit about that. Like what is your sort of role now?
So I've been filming as a camera operator, DP, whatever, for a long time, maybe 25 years now. And I started filming snowboarding, really. I did little bits of filming when I was young. But when I got my first contract with Animal, I spent it on a laptop and a video camera.
Right.
And then I started filming. And then I got better and better. And then in 2010, before my last contract with Animal, which ended in 2012, I just set up a production company and was full-time filming.
Well, I mean, that's like getting your first sort of sponsored paycheck, and instead of just spunking it, buying something that kind of then takes you off on a career path.
Yeah.
Like subconsciously or consciously, that was a wise thing to do. And not everyone would have done that. Do you know what I mean? There's a drive in that you use that opportunity to open another opportunity.
And also a desire to be filmed. And that's the best chance. The best chance if I've got a video camera, someone else's, I can give it to them. But yeah, like, and then like over the years I kind of got good enough to do better stuff, and now I film full time, and that's and like this for the next 2 winters I'm shooting with Legs of Steel.
Yeah,
that's a really fun project. So it keeps on taking me into the mountains and around the world, and it's been good to me.
I mean, that's an incredible, to make a career out of something that you love doing is not an easy thing to do. So to do that is quite a measure of someone, I think.
I feel really lucky to have been able to make that transition from being a professional snowboarder into a different profession without, like, there was an overlap, and it never really felt like, oh, because I think that's a really hard time for a lot of athletes, you know.
Yeah.
You go from being like everyone wants a piece of you, and you're really cool and you're important, and then suddenly it's like you're a washed up has-been, especially if you haven't been like really well known.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, I think it's...
So one of these videos that you made, you did a little series called The Regression Sessions. I mean, fucking going out riding at the moment. I mean, I'm losing tricks on well, not that I have many tricks to lose in the first place, but I think I've lost most of them. And can you still do a backflip?
100% I can still do a backflip.
When was the last backflip that you did?
Right at the end of the season, last season.
Last season.
So, yeah, I haven't done one this week, which is a shame. But there's not been, it's been really
definitely not the conditions.
Low tide. So regression session is really, ultimately, it's me and Ed Lee. So we did a lot of travelling together for
Do you mean medium-sized Ed?
Medium-sized Eddie, not big Eddie.
Not big Eddie.
And so, yeah, so I did 8 seasons filming, like doing production for the Free Ride World Tour.
Yeah.
Amazing, really the funnest job, Eddie, ever. So much snowboarding, loved it. But Eddie came along and did a lot of commentary for that.
Yeah.
And we would have a lot of time, down days. So you get like a 10-day weather window, and then so you just get loads of days where you've got nothing really else to do than just go snowboarding, or
Yeah.
And Eddie and I share massive competitiveness combined with overactive show off gland, and so that just, it was like, let's see who's the best, let's put it out for the audience, and thus regression sessions was born. And I'm really sad that I didn't shoot one this week, but I was kind of like, I was like, Will Hughes isn't going to want to do one.
No,
he'd probably just think that, no, that's not his style, is it?
No, definitely
because
not
you need to you need to.
I mean, it's quite a unique chemistry between you and Ed, basically. Isn't it?
It is.
Given that you've fucking nearly killed yourself in other scenarios with Ed as well.
Yeah, like, I mean,
mountain biking.
Mountain biking. Yeah, no, I mean, every time pretty much every time I've been mountain biking with him, we're both convinced we're better than each other. So we're riding way above our level. And I either end up having like my head scanned in an MRI scan at the end of the day, or CT scan, or like just massive bruising, or I've generally really nailed myself. And that is because like we both put beating each other a way higher priority than self-preservation.
And still, like,
yeah, I know,
like hitting on 50 and still putting.
Well, you saw me today, like, hit that, like, just hit a rock, trying, like, I am gonna show them how good I am.
It's gonna be the best thing ever.
And like, I was really lucky today, but I don't know that that's ever gonna go for me. I wonder. It's not even slightly.
I hope not, because it's fucking funny. Right, I just want to pause this because I want to save it. All right, so we've been going a little while. So, given everything we've talked about, why should somebody who hasn't been snowboarding go snowboarding, or why someone that's maybe hung their boots up for a little while, for whatever reason, dust them off and get on a mountain again?
Go snowboarding because it's just, it takes you into like the mountains that are just brilliant, but it's just brilliant freedom, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I recognise that not everyone thinks like me, so I don't know that I can really tell someone that they should, because
What does it give you? What does going up the hill of, just a day riding, not even, going off into the backcountry, a day just like spooning around the mountain like we had today in variable conditions?
There's a few things that I need to keep myself sane or happy, and a big part of that is just conversation, like being around people, community. And I love sitting on chairlifts and talking shit with people. That's like a massive part of snowboarding to me. I love the thing that I really like about snowboarding as opposed to mountain biking, which I don't really feel you get the same. With mountain biking, you don't really like session something. You don't like, so you're just tearing down the mountain and you do a jump, and then like the guy behind you is doing the jump, but you don't really stop and watch each other. But I love that about snowboarding. It's like, let's all hit this little thing, and I love that. Yeah. And you don't get that with surfing. I love surfing, but you don't. It's a much more kind of selfish, but I love this kind of shared experience that you can all have. And, like everyone's different take on the same little jump, I love that. So the community of it is really important, and just the general, the talking shit on chairlifts. It's brilliant, isn't it? Like, that's massive for me. Because when do you do that if you're not at a pub and like with a beer? Like, it's exercise and it's that, and it's great.
So there you go. Thank you, Johno, for your time. I mean, it was a pleasure, wasn't it? And that whole week was just a joyous, joyous thing. And as I said at the top, I laughed my arse off that week, and I haven't laughed like that for a long time. Chris Moran was a very good host, and we were sort of just blatting around, basically trying to find little pockets of powder and things to jump off, or just basically just trying to show off to each other, which is what snowboarding is all about. And then just laughing like fuck on chairlifts. I mean, that is, as Johno said, like that is one of the special things about the sport that we do. It gets you outside, it gives you time to hang out with your friends, and it is about community. So yeah, I got a lot out of this episode. Hope you did too. Right, in other news, Mia Brooks continues her domination of women's snowboarding. She just won a big air in Klagenfurt in Austria. I think that's how you pronounce it. It was on Ski Sunday, which you can watch again. It's pretty cool that Ski Sunday is now showing and highlighting these things, because for a long time, and certainly the older generation will know this, snowboarding wasn't very well represented, and places like Ski Sunday just didn't want to talk about it at all. And the fact that it's now highlighted, I mean, it's obviously because we've got athletes that are doing well, but it does help show snowboarding, and they do show the best of snowboarding. They're not just showing it as a throwaway thing. Ed does a great job at communicating snowboarding to the people who are just tuning in and don't really know much about it. And hopefully with Mia killing it at the moment, we can hopefully it'll inspire another generation of shredders to sort of follow in behind. That's what I hope anyway. What else is going on? The natural selection is happening as well. Travis posted a thing about what's going on. I think the surf is happening first, then mountain biking, then the snowboarding and skiing. That's quite an interesting thing. They've opened it up to different sports, and they seem to have a bit of a plan. Should be exciting to watch. I think the Red Bull Rampage, that's mountain biking thing recently, was absolutely mental. So if it's on that sort of standard, I think that'll be a pretty good watch. I think you can find that on Red Bull TV. I'm off to Lax this weekend. We're going to be getting some episodes from out there. Next week's will probably be from there, which is quite exciting. It's been snowing out in the Alps again or it certainly has in Switzerland. So I'm hoping, praying that that elusive powder day, that just want that one big day where it's on. That would be amazing. But yeah, it's going to be a whole host of people out there. Ed Lee, Tim Warwood, the Brookses. Basically, it's a who's who. Tom Kingsnorth. Oh man, looking forward to getting a beer with Tom Kingsnorth and doing a few laps. Basically, just as you know, sitting on chairlifts and chatting shit with loads of great people. What a pleasure it is to be able to do that. Thank you to Astrid at Lax for hooking me up. I really, really do appreciate it, and I will work hard to get plenty of content out there and get as many episodes as I can for you guys to listen to. We'll see who we find. What else is going on? I just want to send a quick shout out to Gemma Harrison. She's got a company called 420, which is tea with CBD oil in it. And I've been smashing through the stuff over this Christmas period. I find Christmas quite anxiety building. And her teas certainly do the trick in just calming things down a little bit. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. Gemma doesn't know that I'm doing this, but it's a great company. The teas are delicious. I've just finished one before recording this, and highly recommend it, really. Basically, if you like it, go and find 420 TEA at the end and get yourself some good CBD teas that will just help take the edge off a little bit when you're feeling a bit stressed and overwhelmed. While I was saying shout outs to people, obviously shout out to the Snowboard Asylum. Hopefully Father Christmas delivered whatever you need for your shred trip this year. But if he didn't, then go and hit those guys up. They've got all the advice you could ever need. They've got thousands of years of snowboarding knowledge between them at their shops. Don't do that thing of going into the shop, getting loads of advice and then going and buying it online. That is a proper dick move. So don't do that. Go into the shop, get the advice, spend the money on the right equipment for you. You will have a better snowboard trip. I've been banging on about this, but I've finally found a solution to foot pain, and my snowboarding trips are more joyous for it. I'm no longer getting to the end of a run and wishing I could cut my feet off. Snowboarding could have been like that for many years, but I didn't take the advice that I'm giving out. So do as I say, don't do as I do in this instance. Yeah, go and get the right kit for yourself. Your snowboarding holiday or your dry slope riding or whatever it is will thank you immensely. Also shout out to Oakley for goggles, Volcom for some threads that are on their way. Dan and Lizzie at Burton for the hookups with boards and bindings, and Tom Kingsnorth, obviously the legend that is Tom Kingsnorth at Transform Gloves. Very much, as I said, I'm very much looking forward to getting out to Lax and seeing Tom. In other news, we've just put a bunch more videos up on the Thank You Snowboarding YouTube channel. Yeah Love was a film that Danny Wheeler had a full section in, a European snowboard movie. And it's really good. I've just put it up. I've just clipped his section and put it up on our Instagram. Thank You Snowboarding Podcast on Instagram if you want to find that. And it's insane. I don't think I appreciated at the time how insane it is. I think he does a back 9 to cab 7 over some absolute monster kickers. And loads of fakey landings into powder and stuff. Yeah, I think that section may have been a little bit underrated at the time, but looking at it now, it is insane. So yeah, big up yourself, Dan. Hoping to get a trip out with him back to Chris Moran's place at the beginning of February for a couple of episodes that we're going to do over there. Should be exciting. Hopefully not hitting jumps, anything like that. So we're all strictly on punter jumps now, like side hits and whatever. Glorious times. Yeah, there's a couple of other videos. There's some old dry slope ones, Brush, and this is England, or this is Britain, and Standing Sideways. Was it Nigel Birch sent me a whole bunch of stuff, which I've just digitised and put up. So, yeah, go find that at Thank You Snowboarding on YouTube. go and give us a like and a subscribe and do all that business. Merch, again, I haven't done anything this week about merch, but a few people have messaged to say that they would be interested. So I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to get in touch with Ian this week and maybe put in an order. So basically, I will post up on the Instagram what they're going to look like if you want to head over there and have a look. And then fire me a DM if you're interested in one. I'll find out the prices. They're not going to be expensive, but they're going to be good quality. I'm going to try and keep them affordable for everyone. Oh, the music for this episode, is by Snuff. It's called All You Need, or All I Need, something like that. Anyway, it's JP Walker's section from Decade, and don't know, I was quite surprised when Johno picked that. I wouldn't have had him down as a big JP Walker fan, but that was the tune that he picked. I am going to do the Spotify playlist this week, I think. I'm going to get my arse in gear and get that sorted. So you'll be able to find that on Spotify sometime soon. I'll confirm that next week. But yeah, all these songs... It's not going to be, it's only songs that people are picking, so it'll be quite a tight group. So don't email me, or you can email me asking for particular songs. In fact, why not? If you've got a favourite Shred movie flick, tell me what section it's from, tell me what it is, so that I can then add it to the playlist. But it is only songs from snowboard movies, apart from last week's, which was from a skateboard movie. But it has to be snowboard movies, so unless you're Maria Cork. But it was from the end, so you can kind of get away with it. But yeah, if you want to do that, thank you snowboarding@gmail.com. If you want to get in touch, tell me anything about snowboarding. Tell me how much you fucking love snowboarding. And I'll maybe talk about it out on the airwaves, as it were. But I think I'm rambling on now, so I'm going to go. I will speak to you from Lax next week, roving reporter on the ground, tell you what's going on. And until then, thank you snowboarding. Peace.